Rundown, episode 55. 55 of these bad boys already. Can you believe it? I am your host, John Easthope. Welcome inside. And alongside me, as always, from flamesnation.ca, it is Robert Munich. How are you today, Robert?
Yeah, doing great. And 55 episodes. That's crazy. But that, and then, we got a lot to dive into today. So, I'm looking forward to this one.
I am very happy to dive into this episode today. I was watching football on Sunday night. My team did not decide to show up. So it's nice to get on the podcast here and rave about another team of mine who's doing other things that I might not agree with. So it's quite the day for me. I warned people on social media that John's in a mood today. So, Robert, you're going to get a full-fledged, fired-up John. Before we get into the hot topics around the Flames, there was a roster move made today. Jake Bean sidelined with an injury, so the Flames decided to go to the farm and bring up one Hunter Brstevich. What do you make of the move, Robert?
Yeah, I'm happy for Brstevich. I haven't had a chance to watch the Wranglers this year, unfortunately, but from everything I read and by all accounts, it sounds like Brstevich is having a really solid year down there. So good on him for getting called up and getting some NHL money for a little bit here. And I hope that he gets put into a game. I'm honestly, I'm not totally sure if that's going to happen or not, because, in my opinion, I think the third pair has been really good for the Flames lately.
Agreed.
And I don't know if the coaching staff's going to feel comfortable putting Brstevich in there. So I don't know if he's going to play or if he's just getting called up to practice. Like, I think that's what happened. It was either last season or the year before that the Flames recalled Yan Kuznetsov, and he just practiced with the team for about a week and made some NHL money for a bit and then got sent back down. I wonder if we're going to see the same thing happen for Brstevich here. I hope not. I'd love to see him get into some game action, especially on Wednesday, because I'll be at the game. But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. But yeah, overall, pretty happy for Brstevich.
Yeah, it's a nice little nugget for a guy who's worked hard for the Flames for the Wranglers for a couple of years here. He got that game last year. A chance for him to be around the big club again, earn a good living while he's with the big club. And like you, hopefully he gets into a game just to see him. That third pair has been really good. So breaking that up might take a little bit of a bad night or something on the Flames' part to get him into a game. But either way, it's nice to see young kids getting rewarded being around the club, and I think that's very valuable. You'll get that portion of the social media online vocals that'll be all, well, why is he here if he's not playing crowd? But I still think it's valuable to be around the group, practicing with the group, earning that NHL money, and a little bit of a nugget for the hard work he's put in there for you. It's not the only Flames news on this. Well, we're recording on a Monday. Team Canada World Junior roster was announced, and two Flames named to that roster. One, not a surprise, as Zane Parekh has been loaned to Team Canada. The other one, maybe a little bit of surprise for some folks. I wasn't sure he was going to get the invite, but he did get the invite. Mr. Kolresny gets the invite to the World Junior Camp as well for Team Canada. What do you make of those two players getting an opportunity to be wearing the Maple Leaf?
That's awesome. I mean, basically dating back to the pandemic, I mean, there really haven't been like a ton of Flames players, like standout, like star Flames players at the World Juniors. We've had like William Stromgren there. I can't even remember off the top of my head some of the players that they've had, but there haven't really been any like star players there. So for Canada to have both Parekh and Reshney on the roster right now is super exciting for Flames fans. And for Parekh's sake, you hope that he can be like the number one quarterback on the power play. You hope he can put up around a point per game, be a bit of a dominant player out there. And then for Reshney, I don't know where he fits in the lineup. I almost wonder if he's going to be like an extra forward, like a number 11, 12, 13 kind of forward. That's kind of the impression I get. But he's been on a tear lately at North Dakota. I believe he's over a point per game now. Like, he's playing really, really good hockey. So hopefully he can be one of those players that maybe he starts down the lineup for Team Canada and then kind of works his way up. That would be really cool. But yeah, it's going to make the World Juniors a lot more enjoyable to watch for Flames fans. I think the last time Canada had two Flames on it were Jacob Pelche and Connor Zary back in the pandemic World Juniors. So it's been a while since Canada's had some Calgary Flames representation in there.
It's crazy. I like it. The Associated Press had a little bit of an article on Zane Parekh where he talked a bit about how he's excited to go and get back his swagger a little bit and his confidence a little bit more. So he knows what's at stake for himself. And so I'm excited to see how he does that at the World Junior Camp. and during those games, because he's going to be given every opportunity to be Canada's top dog essentially on the back end there. And I like what you said about Koreshny there. This guy is probably a guy who's going to be bottom six, fourth line type guy to start. But there's nothing to suggest if he doesn't have a good preliminary round that he doesn't move up that roster and start centering maybe a second line and getting in on some second power play unit type of situations for the guy. He's a freshman in North Dakota with a point per game or more, right? So like he's earned this opportunity, and it's nice to see them get rewarded. So I'm excited to watch these guys play as well for Team Canada. So a little fun for the Flame fans this morning. Vucevic up to the Flames, Kolreshny and Zane Parekh to Team Canada for the World Juniors.
Who was your favorite Calgary Flame World Junior to watch
of all time?
Of all time.
People aren't going to like this answer because of what transpired afterwards. But at the time, I quite liked what Dylan Dubé did with Team Canada.
Yeah, I mean, he's the captain. He had a good tournament. Obviously
put away the legal stuff aside, but
talking pure hockey.
Yeah, hockey wise, he was very fun to watch. Right behind him, I did like Dion Phaneuf as well.
Oh, that was spectacular. The double Dion.
The junior hockey Dion Phaneuf is nothing like we got in the NHL. Junior Dion was reckless, and it was awesome.
We got him, I think, for the first 3 years of his career. And then for some reason, it was after 2008, we just never saw that Dion again.
Yeah.
But I would agree. That guy was, I think he's one of the best junior defensemen in modern WHL history. That guy was a tank in the day.
I agree. Yeah.
I would throw to Johnny Gaudreau in, I think it was 2013 in Russia. I mean, he basically single-handedly beat Canada by himself, which pissed me off. But
that's why I don't like that performance.
He was so good in that tournament. Yeah, he was incredible. Another controversial pick could be Adam Fox was unbelievable. I remember watching him, and it was 2015, 2016. I'm like, this guy's going to be a superstar. He's going to be a number one defenseman for the Flames.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes off and demands a trade. That piece of crap. What are some other good? I mean, obviously Ginla, but I wasn't old enough to remember watching him in the tournament. But yeah, no, there's been some good ones. Even Tyler Parsons was really good.
Yes, that's good pull. Good pull.
He when he won gold for Team USA, I remember thinking to myself, he's going to be a Flames goaltender for a long time, and that faded out pretty quickly. Yeah, there's been some pretty good ones here.
Yeah, some good ones, and it's nice to see more Flames going because there's going to be more there's more guys eligible for other teams. Team Sweden has some Flame prospects that could potentially attend their roster over the next couple of years. Some Americans might be getting the call over the next couple of seasons as well from Flame draft picks. So there's the opportunity here for this organization to get more guys going as well, and maybe we'll get more moments like the Gaudreau moments or the Dion moments that will allow Flame fans to enjoy it on multiple levels.
Yeah, well. And I think all of Theo Stocksilius, he's going to be available for Sweden next year.
Yep.
As well as Ethan Wittenbach and Cullen Potter for USA. Yep. And I think those three guys should all be, pretty close to locks to make those teams. So we'll be able to watch some junior players next year as well, which is exciting.
If you believe your forecasters and your prospect guys, Potter will be a big part of Team USA, I believe, next year. If he continues to develop how he is. He's very much on their radar. He got talked a lot about with their under 17 program, and they really like that and they like to bring those kids along. So good opportunity for him. Stocksilius is going to be one that would be fascinating to watch next year as well. He's quite the player. He's quite the player that I think is going under the radar of a lot of folks as well.
I think he would have made Sweden if he was healthy this year.
I think so too.
How good he is. Yeah,
I think so too. So it's good. It's fun to have these conversations where we're talking about exciting prospects and world junior camps and how many Flames are going to be there. Not if the Flames are going to have somebody there like we had the last few years after this pandemic, where you're scrounging to try to find a guy or two that's going to be at the World Juniors that can be a Flame prospect or deemed a Flame prospect. So it's nice to see the conversation turning around, and I think Conroy and the scouting staff for the Flames deserve a lot of credit finding these higher end skilled guys, not just in the first round of the draft, but guys like Stocksilius further down in the draft that are being very much noted by their junior teams and their national junior teams in their countries. And it's nice to see that hard work paying off for the Flames organization in a different way here. Let's turn our attention to the Flames now. The big club, big week ahead. They finished their 8 games in 8 cities trip. They're back at home. They've won the last 2 games in a row here at home. They feel good. Dustin Wolf has the shutout. And the questions on online are starting to change a little bit about what the Flames are. So I'm just going to say it right out to you, Robert. Who are the Calgary Flames?
Yeah, it's a good question. We've seen 2 completely different versions of the team so far this year. You had the one in October that went to, I think it was 2-8-2 to start the season.
Gross.
Just a horrific start to the year. And then you've had the group now that I think's gone 9-7-2 since November 1st. And in my opinion, I really think that this team is closer to the one that we've seen since the start of November. I really think that what we've seen in those games is what we're going to see basically for the rest of the regular season, because that October was just weird. It was just everything that could have gone wrong went wrong for the team. They couldn't buy a goal. They couldn't get a save. It was just a disaster. And, I see a lot of similarities between this season and the 2023-24 season, where that was the year they got off to the terrible start and all the players, we had all those pending UFAs and, the Flames were basically in trade talks the whole season. But from November 1st on in that season, the Flames, I think they were anywhere between like 18th to 16th in the NHL in terms of the points percentage. And I see something similar happening this year. I don't know if they can get all the way up, between now and the end of the season into that 18-16 kind of range. But I do think that they're a better team than people are giving them credit for. I mean, you take a look at the standings, you see that they're in 30th place right now. But I really think, and I just have this gut feeling that this team is going to dig themselves out of the basement and they're going to end up finishing in the mushy middle. That's just kind of how I'm feeling about it. How about you? Who do you think the Flames are right now?
Oh, man, this conversation is going to get some people heated. Because no matter what side you fall on, team tank or team playoff or in the middle, you look at this team and you're not sure what they are because you saw such a horrendous October by a lot of people, and then you see such a good November, a nice bounce back November, and you're just like, this team isn't either one of those teams, are they? Like, are they that good or are they that bad or what are they? So for me, like Robert, you nailed it there. This is a team that I don't think it's bad enough to be in that bottom 4 or 5. I know they sit 30th right now, but you have another month like November with how close the standings are. You're up in that 22, 21 area, right? Or getting up there. And so you look at this roster, you look at this team, and you're just like, the players that they have on this roster, they're too good to be in that 30, 31, 32 spot. They just are. Guys like Nazem Kadri will drag people along. You're having a nice bounce back from Rasmus Andersson. Mackenzie Weegar's come around a little bit more. You're getting your goaltending again. You're getting goal scoring again. And so they're not bad enough to be down there, but they dug such a big hole that even if they have another month like they did in November, I don't think they're good enough to get into the wild card chase race there. So we are looking at another season of around number 9, 10 type of draft pick. Like, that's what it really feels like to me. I messaged you after that game against the Mammoth, and the first words out of my mouth were like, I'm trying not to be cynical about this team. I really am trying to enjoy the wins, and I want to see success for the organization because, as a fan of the team, you want to see them be good. But at the same time, it feels like they're letting an opportunity slip away to add to their talent group with this high-end skilled talent that we spent the last, 40 of 55 episodes talking that this team needs. And this team doesn't need a full rebuild. It doesn't need to be torn down. It's not quite a playoff team either. So you're right there in the middle of what actually are you as an organization. So I don't know. I really don't know what this team is, Robert. And that's not to skirt the question. Is you've seen 2 wildly different months with wildly different results, and the feel went from last month of this team that's assured of a top 3 pick to, are they even going to stay anywhere close to being in that top 5 of the draft, let alone the top 3? So it's a what are you? I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? Like, I'm pretty confident in saying that I think if we start at November 1st, so we go November 1st to the let's call it the trade deadline, because we don't know what's going to happen after the trade deadline. But for those, 4 or 5 months, I really think this team is going to be playing at like a slightly above 500 pace. And I think that that's going to take them out of the running for a top 3 pick. I see this team finishing with, anywhere between like the 6th to 10th overall pick in this year's draft, because they have 4 things going for them that are really important. And I think these are 4 areas where they're an above average team. So first thing I'd point to is coaching. And I know a lot of people aren't the biggest fans of Ryan Huska, but for him to be getting the results that they are with this group, with this little amount of talent, is actually extremely impressive. And I honestly, I give him all the credit in the world for squeezing the type of juice he's getting out of this team.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there have been some coaching decisions, particularly in October, that we didn't agree with. But since November 1st, the fact that this team is 9-7-2 is very impressive. And then, so I think they have above average coaching. I think they're an above average defensive team at 5-on-5. I have an article coming out on Flames Nation. It's coming out on Tuesday, so go to Flames Nation, check it out. And basically, I went through all the defensive metrics and was just trying to see, like, okay, where do the Flames rank since November 1st? And, like, what kind of team are they? Basically, in every single defensive metric, they are in the top 15 of the NHL. So whether that's expected goals against or goals against, high danger shot attempts against, scoring chances against, all that kind of stuff, they're all in the top 15 of the NHL in those defensive categories. So they have the coaching, they have the defensive structure. Since November 1st, they have the second best penalty kill. So, and I actually think that's like relatively sustainable. I could see this team being a top 10 penalty kill team between now and the end of the season. So they have that going for them. And then finally, there's goaltending. I believe that this tandem of Dustin Wolf and Devin Cooley is a top 10 goalie tandem in the National Hockey League. I know there's been, like, I think The Athletic came out with an article the other day doing power rankings of goaltending tandems, and I think the Flames were like 18th or 20th, like somewhere in that range. I don't agree with that. I think they're a top 10 goaltending tandem. So you put all those things together, and this team is going to be in competitive games night in, night out. They're going to be in 1-goal games all the time. And because of that, I really think, like I said, they're going to be a slightly above 500 team. And then if they could just start getting some bounces in the offensive zone, like, you take a look at their shooting percentage, they're dead last in the NHL in shooting percentage, and it's by about 1.5%, which is a huge gap between them and the 31st team. So if they can just get some bounces, and like if things like if Mackenzie Weegar can snap out of this cold spell that he's in, he's on pace for 14 points this year, which is pretty like unbelievable to think. And when he's been on the ice this year, the Flames have been so badly outscored. Like, they're the worst team in the NHL when Weegar's on the ice. And when you watch him and with the eye test, like, you'll see he's actually playing some decent hockey. I just think he's literally not getting a single bounce to go his way. So if Weegar can turn things around, if Huberdeau can start producing some points again, and they start getting a couple more bounces in the offensive zone, all of a sudden, with the defense that they play, with the penalty kill, with the goaltending, and then just a couple more bounces, all of a sudden they're going to be in the wild card mix. I'm calling it right now. And that should scare the crap out of Flames fans, because I don't know what Don Maloney is going to do with this team if they're in the mix for a wild card spot. They're only 5 points out of the second wild card spot right now. That's it. Like, they're closer than we think. All it takes is for them to go on a little run here, winning 4 or 5 games in a row, and all of a sudden they're right back in it. And I don't know what that means for the future of this team. So, it's a bit of a long way of saying that I think this team is better than we're giving them credit for, and I do think that they're going to climb themselves out of the basement of the NHL standings here, which is not ideal in a year like this. That's for sure.
I'm going to be that guy, Robert. I'm going to be that guy. If they do that, okay, if they do that, and this, I agree with you. They are better than their October showed. They really are. October was just an anomaly. I think they are closer to that team in November. And if they play above just above 500 there, and they climb themselves into that 20th spot, 19th spot, they're a couple points out of that wild card spot. You know what's going to happen? There's going to be a trade to bring somebody in not out. They're going to be, or there's going to be a Rasmus extension that no one's going to enjoy or like except for Rasmus Andersson. There's going to be moves that we've seen in the past from this organization because they're just right there. They're just close enough, right? We're going to see the Fantenberg type of trade to bring in a depth defenseman, or they're going to bring in, those type of players that are going to help with the depth of the roster, because when you have depth, you're a better team, according to the Flames. That's what's going to happen here if they climb out of it. And I'm not saying don't win hockey games. That's what I'm not saying. As I've said earlier, I'm a fan of the team. I want to enjoy these wins. But what makes me have this pause and what makes me go, well, I don't want to see that, is because we've seen this over and over and over and over. And it goes back to the conversation we've had on many podcast episodes, people have on social media, that murky middle, that never being a playoff team, but almost a playoff team, or that barely making it to the playoffs and getting absolutely manhandled by the Anaheim Ducks in round 1 or round 2. And it never goes and never eclipsed anything. The Flames right now have an opportunity to capitalize on a really bad October. And this is going to sound really weird because of all the losses. They have an opportunity to put themselves in a position, and it doesn't have to be a top 3 pick. Be in that top 8 of the draft. Be in a top 7 spot in the draft. An opportunity to get one of these high-end skilled players. And people are like, well, John, how do you do that? This team is winning. This team, you just said this team is too good to do that kind of stuff. This is where you need to make the executive decision at the front office of what the direction of this team is. Stop going back and forth. And that's what it feels like right now with the Flames. They're a pendulum. 1 week, it's all rebuild. 2 weeks later, it's all about, well, we're close to the playoff spot. And the pendulum has been swinging back and forth since 2004 of what this team actually is and what they should actually be doing to what they think they actually are, or the opportunity that they might have to be close to a playoff. If you sniff a playoff spot, Murray Edwards gets all excited and happy, and he does a little happy dance, and he wants to make the playoffs because he wants his one playoff round of revenue. This opportunity for the Flames is slipping away for them to add an exciting player to the mix here. They have a good foundation. This doesn't need to be a full rebuild. This is a add to your stable here. So move out your Rasmus Andersson and a Nazem Kadri or a Blake Coleman. Help your roster, not help it be bad. Don't tank, because tanking is a stupid word, but it's help this roster be what they actually are, and we know what this roster actually is. No one out there thinks this Flames team is good. No competition I've had about the Flames have been like, man, how good is this Flames team? I love this team. It's all about, well, yeah, we see some compete, but we know this isn't a good team. So steer into that direction. Add to the mix. You have Cole Reschke. We just talked about him. Zane Parekh is here. You got a great goaltender in Wolf. You got lots of these exciting prospects. Add that high-end talent around these guys, and you don't need to tear it down. And in 2 years, this Flames team is a playoff team. If people develop properly, if you draft properly, if your approach is proper, it doesn't need to be a 5-7 year slog to rebuild this roster. But you're better off if you go the direction of adding high-end talent to this roster. So Robert paints a great picture of what this team actually is right now. This is a team that is going to battle. This is a team that's going to pick up points. This is a team that's going to have games like they saw against the Utah Mammoth, where they just go out there and they're just barely the better team for 60 minutes and they pull out a nice victory. That's going to happen this year, and the Flames are going to, at the end of the day, it feels like it's going to be that 11th, 12th overall pick again, just outside the elite high-end talents. No disrespect to those players around the 11th, 12th spot. Just not good enough, though, and the Flames continue to spin their tires. That's what this feels like, Robert. It really feels like that's the direction this team's headed in, and as a long-term fan, and as a lot of fans think, it's tiring, and it just gives you that sunken shoulder feeling. We just got to sigh. And you're like, why again? We're going to do this all over again, are we?
That's what it feels like. And I totally agree with everything you just said there. And the one thing I think is so important to come out of this year will be to get a top 3 pick in the draft. Based off of everything I'm reading, it feels like the top 3 guys. So Gab McKenna, Keaton Verhoff, and Ivar Stenberg. Feels like those
4. I put in 4.
Who's the 4?
Belchance is really close to those guys. He is a winger. He is a winger. He's not going to get the love that those other guys are going to get. I know McKennan's a winger too, but he's for me, if you're the 4th pick in the draft, that's a nice consolation prize.
So then, yeah, okay, then we'll say 4. Then they got to get a top 4 pick because they need that elite play driver, which I don't know if they have right now. You're hoping a guy like Reshny or Potter, those
Agreed.
types of players can be that, but they need that top 3 pick. And the only way that they're going to be able to do that is if they start trading veteran players. If they want to get a top 3 pick or almost guarantee themselves a top 3-4 pick in the draft, they have to move out Rasmus Andersson as soon as possible, because he is one of the key play drivers for this team right now. You can make an argument that in the month of November, he's one of the best defensemen in the NHL, let alone
Agreed.
on the Flames. He's been a big reason why they've had the 9-7-2 record here. So you got to move out Andersson. You have to move out Kadri. He's one of the straws that stirs the drink offensively for this forward group. He leads the team in scoring among forwards. You have to move him, and you have to move Blake Coleman, who's arguably your best defensive forward, and a guy that scores goals and penalty kills and does all these important things. You take away 2 or all 3 of those players, now we're in the conversation of the Flames bottoming out. But there's always a but with this team. We all know that's not going to happen. I see this team having, being a legitimate wild card 2 contender between now and the end of the season. And as long as they're in that mix, we all know Murray Edwards is not going to pull the plug on this team. He's not going to let Craig Conroy do the job that he needs to do. We all know that's going to happen. There's obviously a chance that Andersson still gets dealt if they can't come to an agreement on a contract, but if he continues to play like this, the Flames are going to push to sign him again. We all know that's going to happen. So it's just one of those things where they're stuck. They're stuck in the middle, and they could either go one of 3 ways. They can trade those veterans like I just mentioned and bottom out. They can keep this team together and stay in the middle, or they could blow their brains out and add to this team and try to push for the playoffs. I don't think they're going to do that, but it's one of their options. And it just feels like they're going to go with option 2, where they're just going to keep this group together. They're going to stay in the middle. They're going to be a very competitive team because of everything I mentioned before: coaching, defense, penalty kill, and goaltending. That's going to keep them in a lot of games. And they're just going to get stuck. Like they're like a truck that's like out mudding and gets stuck out in the middle of a field, and nobody can get it out of there because they're so entrenched in this mud, in this mushy middle, that they're just never able to get themselves out of it. It's very frustrating position to put fans in, because you described it perfectly. You want the team to win. Like, Flames fans want to cheer for this team to win, but at the same time, we all know where this is heading if they don't go in a bottoming out direction. We all know that they're just going to stay in the middle, and fans are sick and tired of that. So yeah, it's a very frustrating time. I was going to say it's an interesting time. It's not even that interesting. This is not an interesting team. This is one of the most irrelevant franchises in North American pro sports because they are so, entrenched in that middle class right now.
I'm trying to find the tweet because somebody on the line put it perfectly. So I'm going to summarize it. And if you listen to this podcast and this was your tweet, you're getting all the credit in the world. I just can't find it right now. He said online that, and I think a lot of Flame fans will echo this, that it's not the wins that the fan base are hating. It's who's doing the winning. If this was a group of younger forwards, like it was your Hansiks, your Karens, your Pareks, that was coming in here and they were playing above their skis a little bit and they caught a little bit of fire and they were playing a little bit better than the back of their hockey cards suggest they should be and pulling out wins, that no one would care about that. Be like, man, this development's gone a little bit better than we thought. These players are playing a little bit better than they are. It's the fact that they're being dragged along here by a couple of 30-year-olds and a nice goaltender in Dustin Wolf to win these games that they probably shouldn't be winning, to grabbing points in overtime that they probably shouldn't be getting. And so it's not the wins that are making Robert and I kind of pull our hair out. It's these veterans that are pulling this group along and keeping this team in the mushy middle that aren't part of the longer-term future of this organization. So that tweet really resonated when I read it the other day. I read it yesterday, and I was just like, man, that's such a good point. Like, if this was say that game was 2-0 all against the Mammoth. Say the goals came from I don't know, let's just throw two young players out there. Say one from Hanzik and one from Gridden. People would be, how great! What a great game by some young up and coming hockey players. But the fact of the matter is, and no disrespect, it's Blake Coleman driving these guys along, and Kadri's pulling these guys along, and Andersson's found a way to kind of get back to what he was in his mid-20s as a hockey player and put up points again. And so it's not that we don't want this team to win. It's the fact of the matter of, hold on. This is the same story over and over again. And the opportunity to add a McKenna to this group or Verhoff, if that's the direction you want to go, whoever it might be. Heck, even if you finish fifth and you get Tynan Lawrence, the number 1 rated center in this draft, that's something to look forward to, something to grasp on, something to build around for the future. Instead, it really feels like, let's double down on Nazem Kadri. Let's go add a veteran to this group for the depth. Let's re-sign Rasmus Andersson to that 7-8 year deal at more money than we probably should have. And so it's not trying to be a negative fan, trying to be a negative media person or a podcaster. It's more along the lines of being realist, knowing what this team is, the direction this team is going, and how unsustainable this really is for the Flames long term. Because what happens if they are the mushy middle for the next 2-3 years and then Kadri falls off? Well, then you're stuck again. And we come right back to this conversation again, or right back to the conversation we had a few years ago about rebuilds. It starts all over again. And there's been 3-4 seasons of nothing to show for it, with some okay prospects, not even good prospects, not even high-end level talented prospects, just more of your middle of the pack prospects, which are good players. Like, look at Coronado, look at Zary, look what they are. They're great players, but they're just not the high-end elite talent that this team needs to get to the next level.
Yeah, and another interesting thing about this team is that, like, they're not that young. Like, you listen to the media and they're like, oh, this is a young team. They got Zary and they got this guy and that guy. Some of the young guys they refer to are Zary, who's 24, which really isn't that young in the NHL anymore. Kevin Ball, 25, 26 years old. Morgan Frost, he's about 26, 27. Farabee, he's 26, 27. Sharon Govich is in that range. Like, this is not a young team. Like, the only truly young players are Dustin Wolf in his low 20s with 22, 23. Matt Coronado, 22-year-old. Perek when he gets back in the lineup. And we don't even know if he's going to play when he comes back from the World Juniors. This is not a young team. So, and for the Flames media and the Flames organization to kind of peddle that narrative that this is a really young group and all this kind of stuff, like, it's not. And that's another frustrating thing about this team, is that they are putting a veteran group out there, and this veteran group, they've proved over the last 3 years here that, they're not really good enough to make the playoffs. Even if they do make the playoffs, here's another thing that's not getting talked about. If they really want to push and get in that second wild card spot, who are they going to play in the first round? Colorado. You expect this team to put up a fight against the Colorado Avalanche? Like, are you serious? That's just that's another reason why I think it's nuts for this team to hold on to these vets and try to save the season. Because even if you do make the playoffs, even if you have a miracle run for the rest of the regular season here and you somehow sneak your way in, you're getting Colorado. Like, oh man, like, that's, like Daryl Sutter said, it's gonna be a waste of 8 days. They're going to get slaughtered in a series like that, unless a guy like Dustin Wolf, like, single-handedly wins 1 or 2 games on his own. So it's just like, what are we doing here? And I think we've asked that question probably on 15 of the episodes here. What are we doing here from a Calgary Flames organization perspective? Are we just happy to have this team in the city and have one of the big 4 North American sports leagues in our city and get to go watch, some of the other best players and other best teams in the league? Or do we want a Stanley Cup here? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't feel like this team is it doesn't feel like the ultimate goal for this team is to win the Stanley Cup. It feels like the ultimate goal is to get in the playoffs once every 2 or 3 years, enjoy watching the other teams, just enjoy having an NHL hockey team in our city. And that's it. And that's just like the lowest bar you could possibly have. That's what the bar feels like it's been set at by this team, which is unbelievably frustrating.
Yeah, we talked similar about that on an episode a few episodes ago, where we talked about, when was the last time you were driven to go to the Dome because it was the Flames, and it wasn't because Crosby was in town. or Montreal was in town, or hey, well, McKinnon's coming through town. Like, those are the things that drive people to the Dome. Yeah, there are your Flame diehards who like to go watch the Flames, but you're not driving to the Dome trying to see, oh, I gotta see more of this second power play unit. Oh man, this 8% shooting percentage team is just incredible to watch. And that's a shame because yeah, you are part of the four major sports in North America. You have a good base in the city of a fan base and organization. The owner is financially settled in. Like it's a nice spot to be, but and a new building's coming, but you're just steamrolling to this new building in 2027, the fall, to see Nazem Kadri center, Jonathan Huberdeau, and some veteran they signed on free agency day. Like, that's what it really feels like. And so it feels almost directionless because that pendulum, like I mentioned, it keeps swinging back and forth and back and forth. And yeah, you want to make sure that you're breaking even every season so that you can financially sustain this team. But why would you not want the longer term success as well that comes with that? Look at what San Jose has done, what Colorado did, all these other teams, we can list them off forever. And yes, I know all about Buffalo for those who will go the other direction, but those teams, look at them now. San Jose's building starting to fill back up.
Anaheim's building is electric right now. I don't know if you watch
it's
Anaheim home
rocking.
games. Oh,
like,
man.
Do you remember when the Flames went through Chicago? The Madhouse is back.
Totally.
But no one likes to think about, okay, well, they spent 3, 4, 5 years at the bottom, but they collected all these high-end skilled guys. And so they were still fine back then. They were still making their money. But now they have guys to look forward to go see, and they're going to be on another run for who knows how long. How many Western Conference Finals are going to have a Bedard or a Carlson from the Ducks or a Celebrini in them in the near future here? Like, it's coming. It's coming. And I don't understand that you look at this group with all due respect. Again, I like Nazem Kadri. I like Blake Coleman. I am a huge fan of what Weegar and Andersson can bring to the table. But you can't tell me you look at this roster with those players and in 3 years think, yes, we're going to be right there again. It just isn't going to happen. It just isn't going to happen. And I know you need a veteran or two to help your young kids come along, and that conversation's another conversation to absolutely have, but you don't need 7 of them. You don't need 7 veteran, high leader veteran guys on a roster of kids. You just don't. So trade 2 or 3 of these guys like Robert mentioned and bring in some more prospects, add to this prospect pool, bring in some high-end talent. You still have Backlund and Huberdeau kicking around that can be veterans. Weegar will be around to be a veteran. Heck, you could re-sign Joe Hanley to be in the bottom part of your roster if you really need another veteran. But let the ones that are going to bring you value go and build for the future, build for something more than just, hey, we might be in the wild card mix later this year, Robert. We just might.
Yeah, no, 100%. And yeah, I was listening to the In the Dome guys the other day, and they brought up a really good point when it comes to the Flames. Oh geez, I'm blanking right now. I forget what they said, but you know what? I totally agree with you. I got the schedule up here for like the next month for the Flames, and I talked about earlier how I think that this team's going to be like a little bit above 500 between now and the rest of the season.
Yep.
I could see them going on a bit of a run here in December because they got Buffalo, Detroit, LA, San Jose, the Kraken, 2 Oiler games. And, I know the Oilers have been playing better as of late, but they've been off to a terrible start. And the Flyers at the end of the month. Even the Bruins, who are wildly inconsistent. Like, that's not a difficult schedule at all. Like, I could totally see this team, playing at like a 600 points percentage in the month of December here. And once again, what's the point of that? What is this team getting out of that in the long term? Sure, they'll get back in the wild card mix, but that's not going to work out well for anybody. And the point I was going to make about the In the Dome, it just came back to me here. So they were saying like it is like essentially a gift that the hockey gods have given the Calgary Flames in the sense that guys like Nazem Kadri, Rasmus Andersson, and Blake Coleman still have value, especially Coleman and Andersson, or Coleman and Kadri, with where they are in their age and where they are in their careers. Normally, when a player gets to 34 plus years old, we start to see them go on the downhill and on the decline of their careers. we're almost seeing the opposite right now from guys like Coleman and Kadri.
Mm-hmm.
It's a damn near miracle that these guys still have an insane amount of value on the trade block right now. So take advantage of that. Don't sit on these guys and get to a point where potentially next season you see a guy like Coleman or Kadri take a huge step back, because they are at the point in their careers where we do start to see those things happen. So take advantage of this time when these guys are playing really good hockey and these guys are keeping you in games right now. I think it makes nothing but sense to move these guys out, and this might be an aggressive way to put it, but like, you got to cut the legs out from underneath this team right now, because they are going to climb out of this hole that they've dug for themselves, and they are going to get back in the mix, and it's going to hurt their draft position this year, and they're going to go from a team that looked like was going to get basically a guaranteed top 3 pick in the draft to now they're going to pick anywhere between probably number 6 overall to number 13 or 14. And just like, what's the point of that? Is it really that instrumental for the culture of the team and for the young guys? You know, even though there's only 3 of them on the roster right now, like, just you want to cheer for this team, like you said, you want so badly to cheer for this team and you want to support them, but at the same time, it's just like, you know, they're going nowhere. They're stuck, like I mentioned before. They're stuck. They're going nowhere. And it's just an awful feeling. Like, in my opinion, in the NHL, I always say, like, you're either selling winning or you're selling hope. Another way to view it is you're either winning or you're rebuilding. And the Flames aren't really doing either of those things right now. So it's just frustrating with the position that they put themselves in.
And the fans aren't stupid either, right? Like, you're on Twitter as much as I am, probably even more. Your mentions fill up quite full. A lot of Flame fans are thinking this. The worst thing this Flames team can do right now is to double down with these veterans and finish in that mediocre middle. They're not going to make the playoffs, even if they go on a bit of a run here. They're just so far out of things that the opportunity's right there. I love what the Indodome guy said there. This is an opportunity for the Flames to kind of do 2 things in one. You can still capitalize on Kadri and Andersson, what they're doing, in a different way. You have all your retention spots available to you. Swallow some money, sweeten the pot a little bit, move these guys out, sweep the leg like Robert says here, and put yourself in a spot to just you're not doing it because you just want to keep losing games, but you're doing it to know the direction of this team needs to change. And the fans see it, and the fans want it. The outcry after the Maloney interviews could not have been louder, in my opinion. It was everywhere I looked and read on Calgary Flames. It was all about how it just felt tone deaf to fans. So the fans are looking for a different direction. The fans want it. The fans want to find something to latch onto and cheer for. As much as we enjoyed that win against the Mammoth, at the same time, my first thought after that win was, man, that's 2 in a row. That's really good after that 8 games in 8 cities trip they just went on. That whole 9 yards. That's 6 wins in their last 10 games, plus some loser points in there as well. Like, that's good for the hockey wise of things. It's just not good overall, in my opinion, for the health of the organization and the direction of this team. Any more from you on that topic, Robert, or should we flip over here some quick hitters?
No, we'll flip over some quick hitters. But like I mentioned, like, I got I'm pretty happy with the article I put together, and it's coming out on Tuesday. So be sure to check it out. It's just, I really do like a deep dive into some of the numbers and just all like what you'll call positive trends for this team. And I think it's kind of eye opening to how much better this team is than where they are in the standings. I don't think this is a 30th place team. I really believe that this is like a 20th or 18th place team. And once again, I think that should scare the living hell out of Flames fans, and it should scare the management team, but it feels like they're celebrating this and they're loving the direction this thing's going, which is mind numbing, but
they're jubilant over it.
I think they are.
I can't wait to pick 11th. Anyways, quick hitters. This is some good things that we compiled together, mostly Robert, on some things that we've kind of noticed around the Flames here that we wanted to mention on the podcast that kind of slipped through the cracks over the last few episodes. Let's start with Connor Zary. A few episodes ago, Robert, you and I both took turns and kind of like, what are you doing, Connor? Like, what are we doing here? We need more from you, Connor. Well, it feels like he's back. That game against the Mammoth, he was absolutely everywhere. He had a good end to that road trip as well. Quite like what I've seen from Connor Zary over the last week, 10 days here. What about yourself here, Robert? Connor Zary really definitely looks like he's back.
Yeah, I mean, small sample size, right?
Of course.
I don't know if we can get like too ahead of ourselves here, but yes, the last 3-ish games or so, honestly, probably the last 2 have been very encouraging. You go back to the Minnesota Wild game where easily his best game this season, and it's not even close. You watched his shifts in the first period. The guy was electric. It was the best that I've seen him skate this year. The puck handling was impressive. The playmaking was impressive. He scores that beautiful goal on the backhand 5-hole, and you're like, holy hell! Like if you could get this version of Connor Zary, this is the kind of guy that you want to be part of your core moving forward. And he followed it up on Saturday against Utah with another strong performance as well. So yeah, it's great to see the last couple games here him step up and start to show the player that we know he can be. And I think it was just going to take time with him because he had those 2 scary injuries last year, and even I don't know who wrote the article. It might have been Wes Gilbertson did a sit down with Connor Zary, and I think Zary had mentioned that his struggles are definitely more mental than physical, and I think that made a lot of sense. And to get out of those struggles from a mental standpoint, just he's probably worried to carry the puck up the ice because he doesn't want to get hit. He's probably worried to dangle and take a risk with the puck or cut to the middle of the ice because of what happened last season. And I think it just takes time to get over that, and it's looking like he is slowly getting over that. So there's that aspect to his game. And then the second thing that I think is really helping him is he's finally established a place in the lineup. For the month of October, into the middle of November, he was getting placed all over the lineup. We talked about this a lot, but 4th line, 3rd line, 2nd line, wing, center, he was all over the map. And since I believe it was November 15th when they put these lines together, since then he's started to stabilize a little bit. And now over the last couple of games here, I think we're starting to see him kind of take off because he's comfortable, because he's getting more confident mentally. I think we're going to start to see Connor Zary become the player that we all expect him to be, which was probably around half a point per game or more than that. And I see the confidence coming back, the position in the lineup. He's established a role. I think everything's going to slowly start to start coming together here for him. So yeah, it's like I said, it's only 2 games, small sample size, but I do think he's starting to come out of this a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. That dog on a bone mentality seems to be back with him. And so it won't be long before I think points start to follow him. He's playing with the right guys, I think, right now to help his game. And the mental side of the game is something that a lot of people like to either forget about or brush off. It's a big part of what makes up an NHL player and a competitive athlete. So if it's not right, they're going to struggle. And I think Connor Zary is back in a way here, and hopefully keep that going. Let's talk a little bit about Dustin Wolf, because that conversation in October around him was the struggles. It was only 6 games ago that people were kind of questioning him even still with that game in Tampa Bay. But his last 3 games, he came in relief in Nashville, stopped 11 of 12 shots he faced. Then he had a 26 save performance against Minnesota, and obviously shut out Utah. Is Dustin Wolf back?
Yeah. For sure he is. And, I don't think he ever really went anywhere. Every goalie is going to have their rough start. And we saw that with him in Nashville. We saw that with him in Tampa. And Cooley he was on a heater. So the Flames wanted to use him and take advantage of Devin Cooley being on a hot streak. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. But there is no question, no doubt in anybody's mind that this is Dustin Wolf's team. It's his crease. He is the franchise goalie for this organization. Yes, it's nice to have Devin Cooley back there to come in and give some solid minutes, but we all know that this is Dustin Wolf's team, and I'm not worried about him whatsoever. The last 2 games are prime examples of just how good this guy is. Only allowing 1 goal, and I think like the expected goals were between the 2 games were like 5 or 6, and he only allowed 1. That kind of says everything for Dustin Wolf. So it's great to see him having success. The one thing I don't understand, I will never get this, is that there seems to be a portion of this fan base who just hates Dustin Wolf, who just does not believe in this player whatsoever. And I don't get it. Because I'll post highlights during the games and, say he gets beat high over the shoulder. I'll get 2 or 3 comments on X saying, that's what you get with a small goalie, or this guy's a bust, or that contract sucks. And I really don't understand where this is coming from. I don't get it. I think this kid is going to be a fantastic goalie for a long time, and just the amount of hate he gets, and I don't think it's from a large portion of the fan base. I think it's a small minority. But it's just bizarre to see that from a guy who is as talented as Wolf is. So, yeah, that I don't get, but I'm happy to see that he's playing much better.
I love the he's too small crowd, or the contract sucks crowd. I really do, because they must have missed the last 2 games Dustin Wolf played. They must have missed his candidacy for Rookie of the Year last year. He is a smaller goaltender, but he's more athletic than a lot of other goaltenders you see out there. He reads the play really well, and it's really started to come through in these last couple of games. You saw him play. He was outstanding versus Minnesota, and he was just nice, solid effort against Utah. Like, that's what you want from Dustin Wolf. Yeah, you're gonna get a stinker, but name a goaltender in this league that doesn't give up stinkers.
Exactly.
And if you can name one of those guys, then I'll let you have your case. But Connor Hellebuck is atrocious in certain games. There are games that he just gets absolutely just shellacked. It happens to everybody. So Dustin Wolf, I think, has come around. It's no coincidence that him turning a little bit around, getting a little bit better, a little bit more confident in his game, has helped the Flames' results turn around a little bit more, and the team playing well in front of him helps him out as well. So it's a little bit of I scratch your back, you scratch my back, and the Flames are reaping the benefits of it, because Dustin Wolf, he's been tremendous, and I have no doubt we'll see him in between the pipes a few more times this week as the Flames play at home.
Yeah, and Dustin is basically the reason why I think this team is going to climb out of the basement of the NHL standings. He's, I mentioned like coaching, defense, penalty kill, goaltending. Goaltending is probably at the very top of that list for reasons why I think this team is going to climb out, and they're going to get back in the mix, quote unquote. And I mean, it's a good problem to have for sure.
Absolutely, yep.
You'd rather have a good 22-year-old goalie than not have him, but at the same time, it's like he's going to be a big reason why this team is, quote unquote competitive for the rest of the year.
He peaked 2 seasons too early for the Flames.
Oh yeah, he arrived in Calgary too early. You're bang on with that. If he could have shown up, say, when Scotia Place opens, and then start playing as well as he is, like that's when the Flames needed Dustin Wolf to arrive. But you're right, he's here just a couple years early, but it's a good thing.
Yeah, and I again, like you just said, it is a good thing. We don't want to kick the gift of a nice horse in the mouth here. Like we went from Vernon to Kiprasov and maybe Markstrom, and in between there was a lot of your Kari Ramos and other goaltenders that weren't very good. So, this next thing we're going to talk about, this one is the one storyline of the Flame season that I just cannot wrap my head around. This player is so damn good all the time. He's reliable. A lot of people think of him as a captain, or should be the captain of this roster. And for whatever reason, this season has gone off into left field for Mackenzie Weegar. He minus 21 would take that plus minus for its worth. He's still getting his 24 minutes a night, but in 30 games, only 5 points, including just a single goal. Mackenzie Weegar struggling, and I cannot make any sense of it. What about you, Robert?
Well, I'd be curious to hear from you. Like when you watch Weegar, like do you see it? Basically, you watch Weegar and then you look at the numbers. When you watch Weegar, does that match what he's produced in terms of the numbers, or do you think he's playing better than what the numbers would indicate?
That's why I can't figure him out, because you watch this guy and you're like, that's actually a really good game. Like, he played a really good game. And then you go to the box score and you're like, he was -2 tonight? What? Like, that doesn't match the eye test at all. So that's why you can't figure this guy out. Like, there are games where it's noticeable where he has been bad. Like the game in Vegas, I remember he wasn't very good. He wasn't very good in Nashville, but nobody really was. But it's like you still have these games where you're like, this guy looks like a good top pairing defenseman, second pairing defenseman. He's playing alongside Jans Kuznetsov now. He looks a lot more calm now, but the numbers just aren't translating, and it's so hard for me to match the two up because I just don't know what I'm looking at now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, so the way I view it is the month of October, he was atrocious. He was really bad in the month of October, but the whole team was bad. Yeah, like it wasn't just a Weegar issue. I think basically since the calendar's flipped to November, so from November till now, I do think he's played better, especially from an eye test perspective. But yeah, the numbers and the results are just dismal. I mean, I think it's one of those years where, and I think most NHL players probably go through this, where you're just not getting the bounces and nothing's going your way, and you're playing fine hockey, but when you're on the ice, your team can't score, and your team also can't get a save when you're on the ice. And I think that's what's happened with Weegar, because there's that stat PDO, which is like essentially like a luck stat. So that's your goaltender save percentage plus your team's shooting percentage while you're on the ice. And if you're at 100, then that usually means that like the you're not getting lucky, but you're not getting unlucky. Like you're just like even Steven. And anything below that, you're deemed unlucky. And Mackenzie Weegar's PDO right now is 910, which is like one of the worst in the NHL and is almost unheard of. So that's what I'm saying, that the Flames aren't scoring when he's out there. Like they're not getting a bounce in terms of the goal production when he's out there, and they're not getting as many saves when he's out there compared to like when Andersson and Ball are out there, for example. But some of like the overall goal numbers and production numbers are insane. So in Weegar's first 3 years in Calgary, he put up 31, 52, and 47 points. This year he's on pace for 14. 14.
Yikes.
He's an NHL worst minus 21. And he's got the lead by multiple minuses in that category. And I mentioned this stat on the last episode, but this is just an updated version of it. So when Weegar is not on the ice at 5-on-5, the Flames have outscored their opposition 39-30. And that's a goals for percentage of 55.71%, which would put the Flames 5th in the NHL. So when he's not on the ice this year at 5-on-5, the Flames essentially are the 5th best team in the NHL from a goal scoring standpoint. When Weegar is on the ice at 5-on-5, the Flames have been outscored 28-10. Cool. That means that when Weegar is on the ice, the Flames score 26% of the goals, which puts them dead last in the NHL. Like, I think the Nashville Predators have the worst goals for percentage, and it was at like 41%. When Weegar's on the ice, it's at 26. So when the Flames don't have Weegar on the ice, they're a legit top 5 team in the NHL 5-on-5. When Weegar's on the ice, they're by far the worst team in the NHL. And it just does not make sense. And like I said, I think it's one of those things where there's a luck component. There's like a hockey gods bounces component to this. And it's just, things just aren't going in his direction right now. And I do think he's working his way out of it. Like you and I have just talked about it. I think his game is better than the numbers indicate, but at the same time, like, I mean, those are atrocious numbers for a guy who is as talented and as consistent as Weegar is. Like I'm sure you're the same. Heading into this year, if you and I would have had the conversation, who is the last guy in the Flames you're worried about? I think both of us probably would have said Weegar, or he would have been the second answer out of our mouths.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just for some reason, it just has not been going his way this year. So hopefully he'll be able to turn around. I think he will, now that he's had a consistent partner and he's not playing with a different guy every game. Now that he's playing with Kuznetsov all the time, I think that will help him. Also, just the idea that he knows he's not going to make the Canadian Olympic team. So, that pressure is off of him. And now that the team's playing better, I think those three things all combined will start to turn him in the right direction here.
It's weird you say all that as well. Yet I'm still not worried about him, even after all those statistics and that start that he's had. I'm still not worried about him. Like, that's just the kind of faith we have in this guy and this player. Yeah. So I think it will turn around. Whatever he's got to do to get it done. If it's got to be some like backtrack trip through Europe, or go
sacrifice
see that guy.
A goat at the Saddle Dome.
Yeah, something, or do the thing that Jonathan Taves did in India, whatever it might be, to turn your season around during the Olympic break or whatever. I think he's got to do it, or Christmas break. You could do something. Dark arts, I don't care what it is. Just straighten yourself out, because he's a much better player than what the Flames have seen this year, especially in this last month. He's been a lot better than he was in October. One guy I'm a little bit surprised of having this good of a year. He bounced back from last year. People give him credit for his full season. I think it was a little bit, took him a few games to get into the rhythm, but Rasmus Andersson's kind of taken this I might be traded thing, or I might be at a new team next year. I need a new contract thing a little personally here. And he's absolutely exploded onto the scene this year for the Flames, especially this last, I'd say 6 weeks, where he's just been probably their best defenseman, if not their best player on the ice, period. Rasmus Andersson's really found another gear. He's found a way to kind of dial back to what he was in his 26, 27 season. 20 points in 30 games. He's got 6 goals. He's running power play 1. He's got a lot of block shots. He's hitting guys almost 25 minutes a night. What a turnaround from last year to this year from Rasmus Andersson. And so the Flames should capitalize. But at the same time, exactly what you wanted to see from number 4 for the Flames.
Yeah, you could make an argument he's been a top 5 defenseman in the entire league since November 1st. He's got 15 points in his last 11 games. He's a plus player. The Flames win their minutes when he's on the ice. He's on the penalty kill. Like you said, first power play, he blocks shots, he hits, he chirps. He's a jerk out there. Like everything about him this season has been awesome. And part of you is like, well, that's the kind of guy they should re-sign. But then when you take a look at the long term and the bigger picture, you got Parekh, who's a right shot. You got Brstevich, who is a right shot coming. Andersson's going to be 30. He's having a career year. This is the last time you should ever sign a player to a long-term contract, is when they're having a career year and they're turning 30 years old. Like, it's not the time to do it. So hopefully the Flames will make the right decision and move him. But the good thing from the Flames perspective is that, Andersson's playing probably the best hockey of his life right now. Even like you go on Natural Stat Trick and you look up ice time, Andersson, I believe he's either 4th or 3rd right now in terms of total ice time played this year. He's played the most shifts. He touches both the sides of special teams. This guy could be so valuable for a team that's planning on going on a Stanley Cup run this year. I find it hard to think that the Flames wouldn't get at least a first round pick plus like a really good prospect, and maybe even a little bit more. Like, could we be approaching like an Elias Lindholm style return for a guy like Andersson just because of how well he's playing right now? And the Flames need to take advantage of that. But man, I got this feeling that they're going to take one more run at signing him, kind of like they did with Noah Hanifin a couple years ago, where my understanding was that they offered him an 8-year deal at around $8 million a year. Like they threw the bag at him, and I got this feeling that they're going to do the same thing. And I don't know if it's going to be an 8-year contract or a 7-year contract, but I could see them taking one more run, paying him probably more than $50 million on a long-term deal. And we'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, I have this feeling they're going to try to bring him back.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to get into that right now because we're up against time. And then I'll send you another rant here. I just hope the Flames do the right thing because Andersson's having a good season, and allow him to sign elsewhere is what I'll leave it at. The one topic we didn't get to last week because we went long on other things, because last week was such a great episode with a good topic in mind. We didn't get a chance to quickly chat about the Flames with the front office. Finally, Craig Conroy gets his extension, a 2-year contract. The Flames also announced at the same time for a nice extension for assistant manager Dave Nonis and Brad Pascal, who does a lot of stuff with the Wranglers. And then the one that everyone was waiting for, Don Maloney, also gets an extension. What do you make of these 4 extensions? And it's about time for Craig Conroy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Conroy should have been signed way sooner than he was. And
well, they claimed it was beginning of the season. They had these in the drawer. So
yeah,
if you believe them at their word.
That's the most bizarre part about this whole story, is that the Flames have come out and said that these deals were done before the start of the season.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, then why didn't you announce it then? Like, what do you...
Right?
It's totally bizarre. And then both Frank Saravelli and Eric Francis came out and said that is categorically not true, that these deals were signed in recent weeks, not at the beginning of the season. So, like, why would the Flames lie to their fans about that? I don't... But no, but like, what's the PR strategy behind it?
I think
because Craig Conroy's loved. Like Craig Conroy's beloved by the fan base here. If they had announced an extension for him and the rest of the management team prior to the start of the season, I think it would have been universally accepted and celebrated by the fans. But now that they do it after the whole Maloney, media tour, that was a complete disaster, and then they announce them, I don't get it. I really don't understand it.
It really feels like they're trying to save face there. It really does. And it's not that Conroy or Dave Nonis or Pascal didn't deserve these extensions, because they all did. I think they all doing a great job for this Flames team, this Flames front office. They deserve these but the timing to me just screams we're trying to save face. We're trying to make PR. And then you get caught kind of almost in a lie with, the insiders' reports as well. And it's just like, you've taken something that should have been celebrated, and we kind of are celebrating it still because Conroy deserves this, with kind of like, okay, whatever, like whatever your messaging is, whatever. And then to add the Don Maloney part in there after his interviews, kind of took away from the announcement for me. People are like, well, we didn't need to hear this guy was extended too. Like it kind of took away from it a little bit. So I think they're trying to save face. I'm with you though, Robert. It's baffling, the decision that was made here. And if it was signed before the season, then just announce it before the season.
I just find the whole PR strategy behind it completely bizarre.
Yeah.
And backwards and just nonsensical. Like, I literally don't think it makes any sense whatsoever to tell the fan base that these were signed before the start of the season when they clearly weren't. And yeah, and it's almost like they're trying to distract the fan base from the Don Maloney comments, even though he's part of the group that's extended. Like, just, it's so weird. So weird. I don't get it. But, like you said, I'm happy for Craig. I'm happy for Brad Pascal. I don't really know what Dave Nonis does because, he never speaks to the media and we never hear anything about him. But I know he was supposed to be kind of one of the contract guys. So you take a look at some of the deals the Flames have signed recently, whether it's Kevin Ball or Matt Coronado or Dustin Wolf, there's some really good deals in there. So maybe you're happy for Dave Nonis as well. I still don't think, having Don Maloney as part of the Flames front office is necessary, to be totally honest. I think Craig could either do it himself or they could bring in somebody better. They could bring in an upgrade. And the guy I keep bringing up is like a guy like Brendan Shanahan. Like those are the kinds of people that I think could be an upgrade on Maloney. So regardless, he's here, whatever. Just totally weird. Why are you lying to your fan base?
Yeah, I don't get it.
I don't understand it. It just kind of makes the organization look a little scummy for doing something like that. I don't like their approach to how they dealt with this. But you know what? Conroy signed, so that's good. It's only 2 years, which I don't think is enough. I wish it was a 3 or 4 year deal for the guy. Like Frank Zaravelli said, it feels a little chintzy to Craig Conroy, but at least he's here. At least he's here, and he's the one guiding the ship, hopefully, and hopefully ownership and Maloney will actually let him do his damn job.
It's another reason why I find it hard to believe that it was before the season. Only 2 years? Or
Weird,
was this,
right?
or was this to try to save face? And all due respect to what Don Maloney is, I think he's redundant at this point with the number of assistant general managers the Flames currently are carrying. I think there's enough experience around Craig Conroy, and he's been around the job long enough. I don't think he needs anyone above him anymore. So hopefully in his next contract extension, if he's still around, that he gets more autonomy to do what he wants to do. And I'm with you on that one, Robert. I really hope that they just let him go the direction he wants to go, because he's done a really good job of identifying younger players, drafting younger players, filling the covers up, setting this franchise up that direction. Now just let him fix the whole overall roster. Let him finish the job here a little bit more. And maybe that's part of the 2 years. You have 2 years to do what you want to do, and then we better see a turnaround. And if that's the case, then fine. Let's earn another contract in the 2 years and do the job, finish the job here. But the timing was weird. The length of the contract is weird, but I'm happy for Craig and his extension. And I think Brad Pascal deserves a little bit of love as well, because he does a lot of good work for the Wranglers. That's been a good farm team for the Flames for a number of years now, and a lot of work goes into what Brad does around that team to keep those guys ready and to keep that cupboard stocked for the Wranglers as well. So I think he deserves a bit of praise as well for the job that he has done for the Flames.
Yeah, it's a good shout out. The Regulars have been a very good AHL team ever since he took over. I know they haven't had a ton of playoff success, but they're consistently making the playoffs. They're developing players, and like I even think like the pro scouting that Pascal's been doing has been really impressive. Like whether it's a guy like Dryden Hunt or Martin Firk, like those types of players, he's been bringing in a lot of good guys. So yeah, good on Pascal. I feel like I don't know if he'll want this because like I know he's got roots in Calgary, and Cassie Campbell and him have like they've basically set up like their long-term home here in Calgary. But I gotta think 1 year there's going to be an organization that's going to interview Pascal for like a GM job or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. He's helped graduate a lot of players to the NHL level as well. Look at all the people that have come through there that played for the Wranglers that are now part of the Flames organization, and a few guys not part of the Flames organization anymore. Guys like Solovyov who have moved on to other teams as well. I think that does it for all the quick hitters, Robert, unless I've missed something. Anything else you want to bring up on the show today? If not, let those fans know what else is coming from you on flamesnation.ca.
No, we crushed it today. I hope people like the episode. I think there's a lot of good conversation here today. But yeah, no, Flames Nation, I got that article coming out like I mentioned, and I'll probably put something together on Mackenzie Weegar as well, talking about some of the numbers that we brought up today. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
I tried not to get too ranty on the show today, so hopefully people enjoyed the conversation. Robert and I are both very passionate about this team and about where they should be going, what the fans kind of want. And I think we painted a good picture of that on the show today. So find Robert at Ring of Fire CGY across social media. I'm Vintage Johnny 84. And of course, the show Red Mile Rundown available wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to like and subscribe to wherever you get your podcast from. And we'll see you next week on the show. Enjoy the games this week. Buffalo's in town, so that'll be a fun game as well as others. The homestand continues for the Flames. Enjoy the hockey. We will see you next week.